Hello, I'm Alexandra Sleator, Career Accelerator, and this is my third video on feedback. And in this video, we are turning the tables and looking at the feedback recipient who wants to showcase appropriately his or her accomplishments and get their just reward for their contribution. Too many of us don't do a good job of putting forward our accomplishments, and this is what this video is all about. When we don't do a good enough job of showcasing our achievements, we run the risk of being undervalued, under-recognized. This leads to frustration, and in a worst-case scenario, we could even leave. That's a very sad outcome. So let me share with you a few tips on how to showcase your contribution, demonstrate your value without being either too mousy or too arrogant. So here's how. Tip number one, be specific too. Around the subject of feedback, the word specific is like a leitmotif. The feedback provider, a manager, needs to give tangible, clear evidence for the conclusion that they have reached in terms of the feedback that they're giving. Similarly, when you talk about what you've accomplished, you need to be just as specific. For those of you who may have seen my previous video on performance self-assessment, you may recall that I urged you to do two things. First, make a list of everything you've done, and then go through that list again, looking at all the tasks that you delivered during the year, and then ask yourself for each and every one of these tasks, so what? And the reason is that when you ask yourself the so what question, you get to the benefits that your work delivered for the organization. So you get to the positive implications of all your hard work. And that is much more powerful to demonstrate your value add than just saying what you did. And there too, just like for the manager, you need as much as possible to have some evidence. So evidence could be in the form of a report, a slide pack of a presentation, for example. And that, of course, is evidence that you did something. So the best kind of evidence is, again, evidence of the impact that your work had. So an email from somebody thanking you for a great report that they just read, or the minutes of that meeting where you made your presentation, showing all the decisions that were facilitated because of your presentation. And so armed with all of this evidence, you have a very strong base to showcase your accomplishments, not from a point of view of any arrogance, but simply of factual transparency. You see, all of us are humans, and so are our managers, and if they have quite a few people that they look after, they can't honestly be expected to remember each and every piece of work and what it meant for the organization. So it is your job to kindly remind them. And this actually leads me to my second tip, and that is to foster a dialogue. The reason why I'm encouraging you to look at a discussion of your own accomplishments as a dialogue is because what I've observed is that it's often difficult for someone to keep up a long monologue about all their accomplishments. It can get gradually uncomfortable. And if you get uncomfortable, the likelihood is that you will actually stop really explaining what you did. Your enthusiasm for your own accomplishments will suddenly, gradually actually peter out, and so you will not necessarily mention all that you should. And again, you will not do yourself justice, and you could miss out something quite major. So in order to keep going, my suggestion is to foster a dialogue, and that's by engaging the other person, typically your manager, into a dialogue by using questions. So let me use an example. Let's say that you are discussing a presentation that you made at a committee meeting, and so you're recounting that. Your manager is opining because they're recalling that yes, you did that presentation, And instead of saying, and the chair said that I'd done a super piece of work, which you might find, uncomfortable to say, instead then say, and do you remember what the chair said? Of course, that's assuming your manager was at the meeting. Or do you recall that the chair sent an email after this presentation I made? Some sort of a question that encourages your manager to contribute to your list of achievements rather than you rambling on in that apparently endless monologue. Now, if your manager's memory is jingled by this question, then they will supply the information, and it is actually nicer for them to tell themselves about your accomplishment than to hear about it from you. If they don't remember, because as I said before, we're all human and fallible, then at least you can supply the information, but it will feel more like you're covering a blank, providing information rather again than just unethically bragging. So use questions to make sure that you keep a dialogue going, and it will feel like a lighter process in order to talk about all your, I hope, very many accomplishments that if you have to simply drone on and go through a laundry list. And remember again to talk more about the impact of your work than what the work itself was. And so now that gives me the opportunity to share with you a third tip. Clearly, on a discussion of feedback, it's unavoidable that I should help with criticism. How to respond to criticism in a constructive way. I hope that I've given tips to managers to give feedback, even negative one, that will encourage dialogue. But clearly it takes two to tango. So you, as the recipient of criticism, how should you deal with it? In a previous video, I went on at length about how to respond to criticism, and the URL for that video is appearing now on your screen if you'd like to see it or to see it again. But for the purpose of this chat, let me share three core tips. The first one is acknowledge the feedback. This may sound surprising because our first gut reaction, especially if we think the feedback is unfair, is simply to start disputing it immediately. But acknowledging feedback does two wonderful things. The first is that it dispels tension. A lot of managers, when they give negative feedback, are nervous about the recipient's reaction. If you acknowledge the feedback, okay, so I hear that you didn't think that this report was of great quality, you are showing that you're not going to be in a confrontational type of spirit, and so that lowers the tension, and you're doing your part in order to be constructive and to foster a dialogue in order to look forward in a positive way. The other thing that acknowledging feedback does is empower yourself, because acknowledging is not agreeing. You are repeating, summarizing what you've just heard again. So I hear that you didn't think that report was great. You haven't said that you agree that your report, wasn't great. And so you're empowering yourself, you're showing that you're able to deal with negative comments. We all get them from time to time, it's part of life. And so, you are standing tall. And that's important, again, for the evolution of that conversation. And then, again, hold back. Don't start the disputing. I know it's difficult because, it's aggravating to get feedback that we think is unfair. So really there, the second step is ask for specifics too. So we're back to this notion of specific. And if your manager hasn't provided enough specific evidence for why they're giving you this negative feedback, you need to take them to that place of digging to really look at the evidence. And if you do that, take them to a place of really unearthing why they are saying that, what is the foundation for the critique, then you will do two things. Either simply by virtue of looking at the evidence, if it's not there, the feedback will collapse on itself. You will not have to dispute it. It will simply, disappear because it will have simply no legs. but in order for it to show that it has no legs, you need to go and look for those legs. The other thing is, if there is legs, if there is indeed some evidence, well, this is an occasion for you to learn. This is, after all, we're all human and fallible. We all make mistakes from time to time, even when we mean well. Intentions are not a guarantee of performance, and so it is possible that you got something wrong. And if so, when you want to know what is it and how you can do better next time. So the evidence, if it's there, is an occasion to learn and to simply not make the same mistake again. It will also give you, of course, and this is the third part of the evidence, that if you do want to dispute the feedback, then you will know exactly which piece of evidence you need to refute. So you will know what you need to make your case on, rather than disputing with possibly, the wrong type of element, making the wrong points. So that's why, in addition to acknowledging the feedback, you need to go into the specifics of the feedback, because that will either let the feedback collapse on itself if it has no legs, or it will give you an opportunity to learn, or third, it will give you exactly the elements you need to refute if you want to dispute the feedback. So that indeed the third tip around criticism and how to deal with it is to look at it as a learning opportunity. You can explain what happened for you, but never justify. The important thing is to focus on the future. Maybe it's about remediation, if there's something you can do to fix a mistake. It's about learning so that on a similar occasion you will not repeat the mistake, and simply moving forward in a constructive fashion. And indeed, if you have acknowledged the feedback and empowered yourself, if you have dug into the evidence so that you have really the facts of the case and you can learn the lesson, then the outlook is bright. And this is something that you can take as, again, a learning opportunity to look forward and to grow as a professional. So those were my three topics on the subject of what I tend to call ethical bragging, which is how to showcase your achievements, focusing on the evidence of the positive impact that you had, engaging people in a dialogue so that you don't gradually get uncomfortable when you have to list your many accomplishments, and when the conversation turns in the wrong direction, how to empower yourself when dealing with criticism, how to dig for evidence in order to refute, or how to come away having learned a valuable lesson which is going to allow you to grow and develop as a professional. I wish you the best of luck in your feedback conversations. They are sometimes nerve-wracking. And I hope to hear from you about your experiences as feedback recipients, and of course, if there's any support that you need, just let me know. It's also time for me to wish you a peaceful end to a bit of a roller coaster of a year 2011. I doubt, sadly, that 2012 will be a very much smoother ride, and so I hope that many of you will have an occasion to rest, to recharge your batteries over the year end, and have a bit of peace, surrounded with family and friends to restore yourself and be ready for a punchy 2012. It's been a pleasure to be in your company all this year, all these months of 2011, to share knowledge and hopefully support you in your career aspirations with your workplace challenges, and I look forward to more of that in 2012, with maybe a few twists just to keep it a little bit interesting and hopefully lively. So thank you very much for watching. Thank you to all the people who have sent me emails, posted comments. It's lovely to know that there's somebody out there watching and hopefully benefiting. Take good care, have a wonderful end of the year, and I'll look forward to seeing you in 2012. Thanks for watching again, and take good care. Bye bye.